So this has been a wild year, and one of the things that I appreciated so much was the small group that Jim, you as the elder for small groups at Highlands, helped oversee and get going. The one that we had, Mike, you and I, at the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember those times that we started with just a few people. And what's been your experience over the time? Like, has it been an eye-opening experience to you, or is it something that you've already seen happen before?
It is not anything that I've ever seen before. It's been a tremendous experience. I think the biggest thing is, we started with that core 5, 6 people, and now we're up to 12, ironically, at this point. I think we're going to move on from there. But just listening to the stories and the things the men want to share, in this group, that it's just eye-opening to me. I've never really experienced anything like it. And it's what I was looking for when you and I had that conversation about it. Starting this men's group and wanting to get this thing going. It was what I wanted, and it's definitely what I've expected and more. So it's been awesome.
And it's been the dream of that we've been talking about for a number of years, about what Jesus is calling us into when he says, go and make disciples, baptizing them and teaching them, and I am with you, and how we can live that out as a church. And I remember those times when we were talking about, how do we take that and turn it into something? And what has been your journey, Jim, as you started to think about that kind of statement that we've made, building communities, and how we're going to end up doing that?
Right. Well, it's funny because the pandemic has had so many impacts on things that we do here at the church, and just and how people experience community. We've all had that loss of community where we have felt somewhat isolated. Zoom is not a real substitute for getting to hug somebody, and but it has forced us to look at small groups differently. And a big part of what has been on my heart over the last year and a half is how do we include anyone who wants to be in a small group and make everyone feel comfortable and safe. And, I think for the church, and as we've talked, it's challenged us to really think beyond that traditional model of the small group where you get together with people who are either in a similar place in life or have similar interests. And those are the people you do life with for the rest of your life, or at least for, years. I think.
Okay, but here's the thing. You said that it took a year and a half. This has been on your heart. But I remember when we were formulating the mission statement with the team of almost 20 elders at the time, working together to craft building communities so more people know the hope and joy of Jesus. You were sitting across the table, and you said, I think as we're trying to articulate the need, the visual that you communicated, do you remember what I'm talking about? You were saying, we need to help people feel it. And the thing that is the most pronounced in our community is that people are disconnected from one another, and they feel a sense of disconnection. This was a year before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. This was a year before any kind of social distancing took place. And it's amazing to me. I mean, just that God would put that on your heart, and everybody in the session agreed, man, this is the way that you pull at people's heartstrings, help them understand. Pre-pandemic, because of technology, because of the speed and pace of life, we were disconnected.
Right.
And so it's interesting to me. I think I've seen it in your life more than the year and a half. And then I've seen you, Mike, kind of benefiting from it as well. You're the elder for equipping and sending, which has been our dream of how do we get people from the place of interest in Highlands or interest in God, right, yeah, to a place of engagement in God's mission. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a unique experience. So it's been a tremendous experience for me, because just through this period of time, and I think we started, what was it, the beginning of the year, where we decided, hey, we're going to have this opportunity for people who are, at that stage where we've gone through the pandemic, they're eager for that connection, they're yearning for that connection. How do we provide that to them? And the Highlands 101 has been that avenue for them to come into church. We open up that opportunity for them to come in and learn about what we are, and it's amazing how many people are coming into this class and wanting to be a part of the next step. And we've got them into the class. They've there's just so much excitement. I mean, it's just amazing the excitement that these people have. Some of them are already in small groups doing missions already throughout the community, and so they're making that next step, and we're picking more people up. And I think we've, since we've started, in January, we've had about 30 people, come through the class. Now have been either baptized, committed to membership, and I think that through that pandemic and what Jim was talking about, they want that connection. They want to be a part of something. And
so what happens if people aren't connected? That's kind of what is the, corollary to what we're talking about.
Well, I think there's a couple of things. When people aren't connected, there's, we're built for connection. We're built for fellowship, and we're inspired to serve by the relationship that we have with Christ. And I think, when you don't have that connection, when you don't have that opportunity to serve, there's that missing piece, because, we're called into fellowship. I think with the work that you guys have done with Highlands 101, it's almost like a renaissance of getting people connected and excited about their faith and about learning about Highlands, and really getting people ready for what comes next. And so I'm excited about Highlands 201 and the Community Builder Workshop, because that's what comes next, and getting people connected in Highlands, re-establishing that sense of community for so many people, and helping them use their gifts to further the kingdom.
Yeah, and this Community Builder Workshop is cool, right?
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for people. You don't have to be coming to this just to be a small group leader, or you don't have to be coming to this actually even knowing what the outcome is going to be, right. But you're just coming with that vulnerability and saying, well, I know that Jesus has called me to go and make disciples. We are going to have this conversation and figure out how that's going to play out in my life. Some of the people will come out and they'll be ready and engaged right away.
Well, focused. Yeah, no doubt.
Right.
Yeah. And others, it will just be the beginning of the next piece of their conversation and journey.
Yeah, but what this opportunity provides is that avenue for which they can come in and we can help guide them.
Yeah.
We got the people that are in the places that can put them in the places that they feel they're called for, and we've kind of, that's the next step. We've got them in, got them excited. Now we're ready to get them into the next step, and this is that place to do that. It's something we've kind of missed. Now you're
one of the best vision casters. So if you're looking at this and trying to tell people and trying to communicate, the simplest, like, what's the outcome of this Community Builder Workshop? What is the dream that you envision?
Well, just like I said, so you've got the excitement. You've come to church. You're looking for that next step. We provided that guidance, that training for you to understand what we're about as a congregation, as a church. Now we've given you this place. The community builders will give them the next step, so they can come in. We can then now figure out where do you fit, have more conversation about it. It's just that next step for them, and where they can now, we can feed them into the community and into the congregation. And like I said, some of them will be ready to go and be small group leaders, and some of them already are. Some are just wanting to be, how can I help? Yeah, how can I'll stand out I'll help set up the chairs. I'll be out to greet people, and
because it's a team thing that we're doing,
and we're trying to get more people that now they know this is the place to be where they can figure that stuff out.
Well, I even think about the disciples. The disciples had different roles, right?
Yep.
So even in the specific little places, you could see Jesus giving instructions to some of the disciples to go and set up for the Passover supper, and that Judas, he had his role as the
money guy.
Exactly. The finance finance chairman or whatever. But everybody had their role, and that as they're standing on top of the mountain, right? And Jesus is saying to each of them, "Go and make disciples. Check, of all nations." What? But that they all, what I find amazing is that they doubted. Half of them, a good portion doubted, and yet they all went. Mm-hmm. And how are you guys responding to this vision or this concept in your life? Are you seeing yourself? What would be the mountaintop experiences for you that you could reflect on those challenges that you've just come through? that you're standing on top of and you're looking out across the valley and you're like, okay, this is cool, but then I've been blessed and now I need to go and I need to take what I've received, and there's people who are not on top of the mountain. What would that be for you guys in your life?
I think for me at least, it's been this opportunity of being involved with this,
Yeah.
the Highlands 101, and being in this community for
You're good
for a
at
while.
it. You're really good at it, by the way.
But I see the excitement.
Yeah.
And so I see, hey, we got this. Now let's take these people that are excited about this, because that's and we don't want that to die. We
Yeah.
don't want that to go away. We want to
Nurture it.
So yeah, we want to nurture it.
Yeah.
We want to move it forward. So coming down the mountain, that's where we got to spread that initial 22 people that we've got signed up so far. Let's get them out and get them engaged, get them spread out. Then it's just gonna, I think, it'll just go.
You go like wildfire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of been my experience.
What's your mountaintop experience, do you think? The thing that you've just come through, you're standing, you're going, man, that was a victory for me in my life.
I'm not sure. I think I'm a very type A personality,
Yeah.
although I'm kind of dual personality in that
Yeah.
I'm type A, but I like to get dirty and mess things up and have fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes I love to have a plan and have everything set to go. And then there are other times where I just I want to jump on a motorcycle and just explore. And I think that with becoming a community builder and the approach we're taking, it's interesting to me because I would like to have this planned out for the next 6 steps.
Yeah.
I want and we're really letting the Holy Spirit lead us in this, which means we get to know a half a step in advance, and I don't want to scare anyone because there will be a plan, but but we're really looking to bring members of Highlands together to see how God is leading them, and we know that through His plan it'll be so much better than anything we can put together. But we're taking this on a step of faith. So for me, it's been we've tried a lot of different things, and we've had some success at different things, and we've completely changed the definition of small groups. And so for me, it's kind of let's see what this is going to be, and what comes of it. But I just know we have so many great, talented people in the congregation, so many people who are looking for that sense of community. And I think we're on the cusp of something really amazing that God is going to do in the midst of Highlands, and not just Highlands, but the community beyond.
Let's talk about that, because I was listening to a teacher the other day on a podcast, and they were talking about how I feel like there's something in the air. And I have had that feeling for a little bit now. Have you guys also had that feeling that there's more opportunity now than possibly any time in our lifetime? And not just in the church, the work that Jesus has. From all of our work is Jesus' work, of course, but that's my sense. It feels like being a surfer out on the ocean waiting for the wave with the expectation. When you're sitting out there, I don't surf a lot, but I know I body surf. But you're looking and you're just kind of trying to jump and look and see when that next wave is going to come. Do you guys also have that sense? Do you have a feeling that there's more opportunity, especially for small groups, right? But I'm just curious, what do you feel? What's your gut sense?
That's been my feeling as well. I think that like we said, we've come out of this period where we've been so disconnected, and people have been lost. And now we're kind of getting, it's kind of a revival, we're coming back. People are now wanting to be together. There's the opportunity to be together, and just you see that's an opportunity.
And people are reconfiguring their life.
That's right, and how to manage through this. That's right.
Yeah, I think surfing is a great metaphor, because when I first learned how to surf, I was really surprised by how much sitting is involved in surfing.
Waiting, yeah.
Anyone who surfs will tell you that you sit in a pod of other surfers, and you wait for the wave. And
that's true.
and I feel like to some extent, at least in my life, I've been doing a lot of sitting and waiting, which is a very uncomfortable place for me. I am not a patient person,
Yeah.
and I do not
Yeah.
like waiting. But I think in a lot of ways, just my personal life, and I can see the great things that God has been doing in my life over the last 2 years. But it's been a lot of.
You were
waiting.
talking about that the other day, that you've been kind of surprised how God has answered the prayers of your children and the prayers of your family, and through the disruption, you've actually found balance, which is nothing that you would have thought, right? So the disruptions come, and then suddenly, this is the life that you know that God would want you to be experiencing with your family.
Yeah, I mean, when I first moved here, I had a job where I was working 70-hour weeks,
Yeah.
and we moved here from the Bay Area with the expectation of getting back to a little slower pace of life, and the more like what I experienced growing up in New Hampshire. And about 3 months into living here, my younger son said, "Dad, I thought we were going to see more."
Yeah, moving to Paso.
Right.
And then, but it was weird because Paso was getting to that speed of life. I felt that it was just kind of in hyperdrive, almost more so than other cities, because you could feel the growth, you could feel the opportunity. People were, it was blazing fast.
Right.
And I remember when it first started, the pandemic a year and a half ago, for those first 2 weeks, I remember our family just saying, "Oh, I'm just really glad to have a break."
Right.
And even in ministry, this is one of the weird things, is I talked to my dad, who's 40 years in ministry, and I said, what's interesting is I had been preaching every single Sunday. We had been doing worship every single Sunday, and I would have done that until retirement. And what a blessing, too, to have a time to stop and just stop everything. It's been the hardest blessing I've ever walked through. But I was listening to this teacher, and I was like, you know what? I do believe that this is the greatest time of innovation and invention that is about to come up. And I think that being on the forefront of building communities is where people are going to be able to nurture that invention, that hopefulness, that joy. So that people are, because the greatest processing power in the world is not the computer on your desk, or even what are those big computers?
Right.
Not those either. It's when human minds and hearts and souls get together.
Absolutely.
There's nothing that can beat the complexity and synergy of people that are on the same path, and with the same dreams, and dedication and commitment to one another and to the path forward. Yeah. So you guys are excited like I am.
Oh, tremendous.
I think that we, not to dust off old Southern Baptist words, but I think we're headed for a revival of sorts, and I'm really excited about that. And there have been some things that we did as elders toward the beginning of the pandemic that I think got us back in touch with folks who may have felt really isolated through the pandemic. Calling around to people. It was amazing when you talked with someone on the phone who you didn't know, but you were calling because that's because we care and we wanted to make sure people were doing okay. That sense of community, that contact was everything.
But here's the thing that I thought of as you were talking about revival. The traditional concept of revival is Billy Graham comes to town. There's a big event. People from all over go to that space, and then there's this, what you'd call a revival, right? All built on like the 1800s, when there were truly the
Right.
What was it called? The Great Awakening in America. It was like one of the biggest movements ever, and everything's been trying to kind of recreate the Great Awakening, right? So Billy Graham, Luis Palau, name it. Everybody's trying to like build off of that. But here's a thought. Perhaps the revival is going to look different, and it will be small groups, and it will be people in houses, and that fits in my mind. It makes a lot of sense, because they're talking now about the economy, even moving from traditional trade-based economy to a relationship economy. I feel like the world is catching up to the church even, and the church is just continuing to blaze the way and saying, no, you know what, this is, because the world wants what God is providing. They, deeply, even though they may seek after other things, deep down everybody wants this.
Right.
So I'm just thinking about that concept of revival and how that could look different. Yeah.
Well,
we've seen it in the small group, right?
Oh yeah, we've seen it. Yeah,
In our group of 12.
Yep, exactly, and that's what they're hungry for. You know,
Yeah.
is that community, that togetherness, to be in a part of a group that you can move forward with.
I believe that those families of those 12 men are blown away
No
that
doubt about
every
it.
Wednesday that dad or husband is gone from the house at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's a revival.
In its own,
Like
yeah.
you look at it and
Oh,
you go,
yeah.
if you were to define a revival, it would pretty much look like people who could get more sleep, who could do other things, who are also making sacrifices of family and time, coming out and connecting with others and experiencing what we've seen, which is they don't want to miss a week.
That's right. They're excited about getting out of bed in the morning. They want to be
Yeah.
there. They want to be a part of that. They don't want to miss out.
That's what we need then. That's
Yeah.
what we're aiming for is a
That's right.
revival.
Right.
No doubt.
Right. I think there's one other aspect of
Yeah.
what we're working on that I'm really excited about, and that's, through the pandemic, it's been on my heart and mind about the ways that I'm experiencing community. And there's obviously social media with
Yeah.
all of its pitfalls. I get
Yeah.
I get some good community with my buddies across the country who have the same kind of cars and trucks that I do.
Yeah.
So that's
affinity.
fun.
Yeah, you've
Right.
been talking about that.
That's a
one.
fellowship.
But and then we all seem to be on text chats.
Yeah.
And so what I'm really excited about is the app that we're going to be using with this, because
Yeah.
people who sign up as community builders and are part of the community builder group, as well as people who are in small groups,
Yep.
are going to have that regular touch point with
Yeah.
the other people in their groups through the app. And I think
It's huge.
It's huge, and it's a good way to use technology not to supplant community, but
Yeah.
to enhance it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
and
very
we have
excited about
looked
that.
for a solution for this kind of connection, and it is not easy to find a way to communicate with people that is effective and not overwhelming, because even if you're looking at Facebook has all of these little pitfalls now. But one of the biggest flaws of Facebook is it is distracting.
Right.
I have tried to use Facebook for true, like focused attention. You can't do it. It's
Right.
designed when you open it to make you go down a rabbit trail, and like 20 minutes later you're praying and it's wonderful about Sally Sue in
Right, yeah.
Arkansas
Yeah,
and,
right.
and the thing that she's going through. So it might be good for that, but other than that, this app is cool because it's not text messages coming at you, and do you guys have the text threads that are like the ones that
Yes.
700,
never-ending.
700, yeah,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
cool. You like it, but at the same time, you're trying
Distraction.
Yeah,
Right.
This is cool. I like the way that communication will come at you when you want it, and also that so when you're setting aside that time to pour into your group, you'll be able to do that and also connect.
Focus in on it.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I'm really excited about the app actually, but most excited about the revival that will take place as we do these things, take these steps forward.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, the other thing that is cool, and Val said it the other night when we were all meeting together, this isn't a situation of exclusion in any way. This is a yes and situation. So,
Yeah.
we've changed the definition of small group to really encompass existing small groups where people are getting community. We're putting together new small
Yeah.
groups and the people who want to serve in other ways in the church, and we just
Yes, so it's not, exactly. So this community builder workshop, to get back to that little piece, is not about just small groups. It is about spiritual development of the human being. And that's what I'm really also excited about, is thinking about how we can nurture those 6 areas of spiritual need in everybody's life, fellowship, worship, stewardship, mission, outreach, and small groups.
Yeah.
And so small groups is one piece of it, but that nurtures all the others, and they equally do that to one another.
Yeah.
But how amazing to be able to say to people, hey, if you want to take that next step in your faith, which is what Jesus is telling the disciples, get down the mountain.
Right.
That's right.
Right. Go down the mountain, jump in to the deep end, and swim.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. But I'm with you.
Right.
So you're not alone. No, we're with you.
Yeah. So I think about Peter walking on the waves to Jesus. Do you remember that story?
Yep.
And how he sees Jesus walking on the waves and he says, if it's really you, then let me walk on the waves too.
Yeah.
But do you remember what happens after he steps out of the boat and starts walking to Jesus?
He starts to sink.
He starts to
Yeah.
sink. Yeah. And that's us, right? So we have all these ambitions, all these dreams. Like this is gonna happen. But I feel like that's us stepping out on the water. And then he sinks. And do you remember what he says after he's falling down under the water? It's not a quiz, but
He says, save me.
yeah, Lord, rescue me, save me. And that's all we're doing is we're like saying, hey, are you ready to step out on the waves? You're not going to be able to do it. This is really stepping out toward Jesus. And it's Jesus who does. He says, good job,
Right.
but you need me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and Peter, I mean, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Peter's one of my favorite individuals in the Bible because he is so broken and so flawed, and so I think I identify with him as being so flawed. But Christ said, "I'm going to build my church upon you," and the next time he jumps out of a boat is after the resurrection, and he sees Christ on the shore, and he can't wait to get to him.
You were always thinking that he was going to walk on water.
It's one of the things. Yeah, it's one of the things that I want to ask him on the other side of.
Because he put his clothes on. Is that why?
Yeah, I'll buy him some coffee and be like, hey man, did you think when you got out of the boat that you were going to walk on water?
Yeah, and he'll be like, the coffee's free.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that picture of Peter where he jumps out of the boat because he can't wait for them to bring the boat into shore, and he swims into shore. And I'm sure that the other guys in the boat were like, what is Peter doing?
Here's an illustration though for the church, right? So the church, let's say the church is the boat, right? And that Jesus is saying, come down off the mountain, or get out of the boat, or go walk on water, do these things. And that is a great analogy to what we're trying to do with small groups, is take that step of faith, because I can't think of anything as a grown, I'm confident in a lot of things. I'm a dad. There's not a lot of stuff that I get nervous about. But when I do embark on something like, hey, do you want to be a part of a small group that meets at the, backyard at the Roots on Railroad beer garden? That just sense of like potential rejection, that someone would say no to that sense of, is this thing gonna, will this take on a life of its own? All of that comes in, but then you sit back and you go, wow, Jesus is doing this thing.
Yep.
And sorry for trying to control it. Sorry for trying to make it happen, or even thinking I could.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's scary, right? To do these things.
Yep.
And one of the funny things to me is the other day in worship, I said, we're going to do some small groups, right? And I gave illustrations of a knitting group. We're going to start youth groups. Everything at Highlands is building communities. That's how we've defined it. Right. And the funny thing is when I said, and then we're going to do some weird groups, there was like a cheer from the congregation. And I felt like there were probably 15 or 20 people that weren't just laughing and cheering along, that they actually had a group idea that they had been thinking about. There was like horseback riding, or I'm going to get some bros together or gals together, or just people together and go cycling, or underwater basket weaving. Why not? Right. So I feel like there are some things that people are nervous to share with us. And my message would be, don't be afraid of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
faith.
Right.
We'll help you walk through that, and we'll help refine that.
That's right.
Because that's what it is. It's that co-discipleship. But
Well, and I think that's a great point, because a big part of our effort in becoming a community builder is that we want to provide people with the resources, the support, empower them to connect with others within the church, and we're going to help facilitate that and get people connected who want to do those other groups. In fact, if anyone wants to do a weekly mountain biking group,
that's you.
I'll be.
We're in.
Right.
Yeah, you're into it.
I'm in.
I didn't know you did that too. Well, there you go. Maybe that'll happen. But it's electric. Just say like,
right.
But not so that anybody knows it's an electric bike. I'd like ones that are just like just covertly built into the bike, and you just I'm that strong, guys. I'm sorry.
I can
There's
ride
other
uphill.
Opportunities.
I can ride uphill at 15 miles an hour.
Exactly. But I just do get excited because I think about Highlands and what Highlands is supposed to be, and well, obviously whatever God wants it to be. And I've always felt in my heart that God wants Highlands to be distinct, and that while we do things that are conventional, that one of our core values is to be brave and to take risks. We frame that as to do what no other to do what no other church is doing in order to reach the people that no other church is reaching. Or another way to put it is to do what no one else is doing in order to reach the people that no one else is reaching.
Right.
And so I would be so saddened if people are not voicing creative, out of the box ideas of how to reach more people, because there are people in this community who are not plugged in. They're not in community. And that means I actually think the reason why, this is just me, is because no one's speaking their language. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like the pastor at a church who goes, I don't know why nobody's coming to my church, and you go, it'd be nice if you got air conditioning, right? And maybe pads on your pews, but the pastor's sitting there, they just don't love Jesus, while the church down the road is just exploding, with excitement and enthusiasm because there's innovation and ideas, and they're speaking the language of the people.
Right.
So I don't know, do you guys feel the same way that like perhaps the church needs to, we need to embrace more of these innovative ideas to speak the language of different people that the church hasn't been speaking.
Yeah, and I think that's what this opportunity will provide, is that and the understanding that whoever's out there that are interested in doing this, we're here to support that.
Yeah,
we encourage it. We're going to embrace that. Yeah, and we want to make sure that we're not losing that attitude and that excitement, and we want to keep that moving forward, because I think Highlands is a versatile. So
think of community builders as a blank canvas.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that we're giving people the tools to get going with the vision that God has placed on their heart.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
Well, I mean, I think, one good example of how Highlands has already done that, I think, is with all the work that Ben has done through the kayaking trip and, the men's retreat, and how he had that vision for really bringing men together. And that has been such a great thing for so many folks in the church. And I joked about what they don't tell you when you're surfing is that you're going to be sitting a lot. You're sitting and you've got time to have a conversation. One of my favorite mountain biking rides in Santa Cruz County, there's a 4-mile climb at the end of it. Yeah. There's a lot of conversation as you're just grinding through a low gear going 4 miles an hour uphill. So I think that those are the opportunities.
Consistency.
Right.
Yeah, I've even just been studying a lot about businesses or churches or any of these things that actually see the most fruit in the long run. And the one thing that is common is consistency. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just go forward, and create a space where people can, they know what to do, they know how you can help them and how you can support them. And that's what I hope people learn from this. Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of thinking about this as almost a innovation hub, a think tank,
exactly.
for community.
Right.
Because if that's our value, right? If we believe that what's going to change our town is going to bring kids out of depression and circumvent suicides, circumvent drug abuse, circumvent
Homeless.
abuse in the families and divorce and homelessness and all of these little pieces that I feel like as a society are so good at focusing on the symptoms. Like we grieve, we have big pageantry over these things. But then when we know what the remedy is that consistency and also that community, to have a place where we're thinking and going, how do we build communities? What is this thing about learn? How do we learn to speak the language of the people and to engage people? Because people, if I look at a cancer walk, millions of people show up for a cancer walk because that speaks their language, right?
Yeah.
And so my thing is, this is a wonderful community. This town, the heart of the people, they are loving, wonderful people. And if we can add an extra, blessing like we have at the men's group, in the backyard, by saying, hey, you know what? We know you feel comfortable at the backyard, at the beer garden. So we're going to meet there when they're not serving beer, right? Right. But we're going to meet there at 6 a.m. My joke about that, is the beer garden opens and closes the same way, with men stumbling around in the dark.
Exactly right.
Except we're stumbling around in the dark with our cups of coffee and waking up.
Trying to get there.
But quite literally, I feel like people can go to that space. Someone was asking, why are we having it at the backyard beer garden? It was just, let's innovate this thing. Let's think differently. And part of the reason is because we know that the people that we're trying to reach, when you go to the backyard or you go to any of these restaurants or places, don't you look around and go, man, these are cool people. I would really love to walk alongside these people and meet them in this space, so they don't have to go to some other new place.
Well, and I think it's, the societal problems that you mentioned, it all comes down to people trying to find solutions to isolation and feeling disconnected.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing through Community Builder is providing that opportunity for connection. And
okay, so you just blew my mind. So like Facebook is an attempt, right, to feel connected, but it totally disconnects you. So I have even learned recently, I'm working on it. So you guys in my group, you can help me with this, Mike, but you can remind me. Yeah. But I'm no longer sleeping with my phone by my bed, and I'm not even looking at my phone until I send my kids off to school. Because I know that what it's doing to my family is disconnecting me from them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even in the evenings, just seeing it as this thing that, even picking it up, I can tell is kind of an insult at the table or anywhere I'm just looking for a second. It's like, why aren't you here with me? But you're saying all the technology, all the things that we're doing, everything that human beings are doing, right? Is to connect.
Is to connect.
That's what they yearn for.
Yeah, it's that feeling of fellowship and connectedness. And so what I think
soccer teams.
Right. Well, and
football teams.
Right. Although football teams are a good connection.
That's a very good.
They are.
Right. No, I think that what we're doing through Community Builder is helping people reestablish those connections, but also community builders are those people who are going to have extra training and extra resources in connecting folks. Yep.
They'll be thinking differently.
Right.
They'll walk out of this and they'll start to, maybe they won't have an idea right away, but it'll start to engage them. I love that.
And if someone is passionate about doing something, chances are, especially in a place as diverse and cool as Highlands, there are going to be other people who are passionate about that same thing. Yep. So if people are passionate and interested in connecting with others, I'd encourage them to come to the community.
Just come. There's no obligation out of it. It's going to be fun. Right. Actually, it's going to be a great time. You'll meet a lot of different people, and it will be. It's like it's a safe space. You can come and here's one last thought, right? As we're talking about football being a great place to connect, and it is. When the parents are on the field, right, or the kids are on the field, and the parents are beside the field, the assumption is that the team that's going to go out and win the day are the kids. Mm-hmm. But the shift would be if we could help people to see that the team that needs to be built is the parents. Right? That's God has placed those people in your life for you to not have frivolous relationships with, but to go deeper with. and actually to be the real team that's winning the day for the kids who need you and for the community who needs you. And to have that group with common goals, common, markers on the field, objectives, and the coach who's Jesus, man, so
Right
good.
on.
Well, it's the dream.
That's it.
Thank you, guys. I
We'll
appreciate
make it a
this.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what happens with it. Again, we're stepping out in the water. We're just going to see where God leads us, right?
Yeah, we're excited.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
I love what you do. I love being on the elder board with you. And you guys, it's a privilege. I'll
love your
cry when
guidance.
you guys are leaving the elder board, like I do with all the elders, but
Yeah.
it always breaks my heart. But thanks for having the courage to step out on the water and say yes to
Absolutely.
what God's doing here. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it, Mike.
You bet.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank
All right.
you.